You're listening to Contesting Wrestling, Minisode 40, and then a second number that you'll already have read. 5. Sure, you'll already have read it in the title, so I don't...
And here's Ben again with his PhD being the one that's able to count, even though that's my job, and of course, our mini guest, Devin T. Simmons' job. Hello, Devin. Hello. I'm better at it than Devin, though. Let's be real.
We like Gorilla Monsoon always said about like tag team matches and stuff. We need more than one ref to keep control of this whole situation.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I got fired. I don't know if you know that. XSW, they fired me.
Look, I'm working on it, Devin. I'm working on it.
There needs to be a labor union for professional wrestling referees. I've been saying this.
I think
because you guys can just get hired and fired at whims. You have to put up with all kinds of nonsense / malarkey.
They clearly don't have proper like vision.
Right. I mean,
medical.
I miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Can we talk about the health problems?
I have a weak spine, which is why anytime I get even lightly touched, I'm unconscious for 5 minutes.
I'm going to be honest, there are times when I am concerned about, like, the object permanence of most referees.
I mean, I think referees need to get checked for CTE just as often as...
especially you. You get hit a lot.
I get hit a lot. Yeah, my elbow clicks when I move it.
Oh, you should hear my shoulder.
And my hip just dislodges. Like, it's bad. I get hit a lot.
Ooh.
For those of you unfamiliar with who I am, I'm the senior official at XSW Extremely Serious.
Yes, Devin will be appearing. Devin will be appearing
serious
on future episodes that have been recorded. He was here, so we let him join the party.
Which is cool because I'm a fan of the show. So I'm mostly just gonna interject periodically because I'm not entirely sure what this minisode is about.
It was about our first episode on Rey Mysterio.
Okay.
That came out this Monday. His covering his WCW years.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to start off by correcting something that I said at the very end of the show. For some reason, I brought up the death of Owen Hart. And I had heard years and years and years ago, like shortly after it happened.
Just so listeners are clear, actually, Ben will bring up the death of Owen Hart just at the drop of a hat. Just like he brought it up during his speech at my wedding. I've seen him just engage strangers with it. The number of Tinder dates that he's ended
in his Tinder profile.
And yet, what I said was inaccurate.
It's why we bring up Hobart so much.
Well, I have a sympathetic connection here to the Hart family. But, okay, so years ago, I had heard that Owen Hart died on the way down, like he had a heart attack before he hit the ring. This is not true. No. Right after the show, I remembered what they actually said on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, which is heroically, the very last thing that Owen Hart did was wave his arms to tell like the referee and the ring announcer to get out of the way when he was falling from the rafters there.
And then Jimmy Corderas, who tells the story himself sometimes.
Right. And then he wasn't pronounced dead until he got back to the hospital. They did try to revive him, so he wasn't already dead when he hit the ring. Anyway,
right. Which is worse somehow.
Yeah, I know. This is a really fun way to start this minisode here. I know, but I had to get it out there.
All right. Well, this has been Contesting Wrestling.
This has been our experimental mini 5 minutes of just us talking about dead people.
Yeah, it's just we're gonna have to come back every episode and we'll divide it up into the depressing details episode and the happy details episode. No, I don't know. No, I'm glad you're correcting. I'm glad you're.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any other notes?
Yeah, so Evan, you asked, the way you opened the episode on Monday was to ask about wrestling, what's up with that? You should know that this was actually a wrestling catchphrase by the great Hurricane.
Oh, yes,
Shane
I know
Helms.
well.
Fun fact, Hurricane was my favorite wrestler when I was 14 years old.
Same, buddy, same.
Love that dude so much.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
What about him made him?
It was the comic book nerdy stuff that I liked.
he was
because I was a big
superhero.
comic book nerd. Yeah, and he was
literally
a
superhero.
And both of our favorite superheroes are the Green Lantern. So that.
How many wrestlers throughout history have in some way been able to like create an energy projectile of some kind, right? Like I know the Undertaker shot lightning once, from what I have heard. I haven't seen.
He shot lightning a couple times.
Yeah.
Kane could shoot fire.
Yeah.
Kane could shoot fire out the corners of the ring. But that's a good question. There are a lot of guys that like would use a conjured fireball that's like just flash paper. You know, Jerry Lawler would do it from time to time. Hulk Hogan tried that once and ended up burning his own eyebrows off.
Yeah, but fuck Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that was hilarious. I'm sorry. Like, usually I don't delight in the pain of others, but that was fucking hilarious when he burned his own eyebrows off.
Great. It was one of the worst matches of all time, and in the end of it, he burns his own face.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah, right. I sometimes wonder, because, you know, Hulk Hogan was basically used as a pawn in Peter Thiel's chess game to destroy Gawker. I don't know if people know about that story. I assume our listeners might know it.
A very highly paid pawn by the end.
Now, Peter Thiel is is really the driving force behind the technology to take blood out of young people and put them into put that blood into older rich people. That is a real thing that he, like, you've seen that, you've seen jokes about it, you've seen it like satirized on, but that is a real thing, and Peter Thiel was the main guy behind that. And I wonder if he came to Hulk Hogan and he was like, I'll pay for all your shit, we'll be able to destroy Gawker together. I need some of your Hulk, even though Hulk Hogan is an older man whose body is probably destroyed by steroids, his blood still probably retains some of its power. At least that would be
the power of Hulkamania flowing through it for so long.
So that's got to be something.
I guess, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well,
just throwing that out there.
What was the point of all this again?
I'm just having fun with my imagination.
No, that's always a good thing.
So I mentioned these Lucha Libre action figures that I saw as a little kid, which helped me learn about Lucha Libre, including a Vampiro figure. And then, in a startling coincidence, the major WF pod, the former Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins action figure podcast, posted pictures of that very Vampiro action figure, like the next day.
That's awesome.
Crazy. Yes, the Canadian vampire, the Vampire Canadiens.
Yeah. Fuck Vampiro, too. But that's just an opinion thing.
I
just don't like Vampiro. I never did.
That's fair.
It's not like I hate him as a person like I hate Hulk Hogan. I just don't like him as a wrestler.
you just don't enjoy... You don't enjoy Vampiro as a performer.
That is an important distinction to make, I think,
really
with wrestlers, where it's just like, I don't care for his wrestling versus if I had a time machine, he's on the list of people who I would murder so as to embetter the world.
I might would turn him away from professional wrestling, but, you know, whatever. I won't go so far as to say murder.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying I have a list that you can see on my website of people I would use a time machine to kill.
To add to that list, that's at Evan Burke.
At ScribeBen.
Yeah. That's it.
That's at ScribeBen, yes.
No, this is a fun thing, so send that to me. Send that. If you have a problem with this bit, send those complaints to at ScribeBen. But if you want to get in on this and send me your obscure time machine murder. But I would kill Edward Bernay. I got drunk and ranted about this to Ben a while ago. Because I feel like he's been like a bad... Anyway, wrestling.
He created mass marketing.
I wouldn't say who I'd kill if I had a time machine. The FBI might show up.
Oh, okay. I thought you said somebody else was going to show up. Like it was like
make your own deductions from what I just said. Yeah. I'm not saying it out loud.
Just to be clear, Katie would kill Caleb Weatherman, who lives at 417 Argyle Road.
Lived there 60 years ago.
I mean, certainly I wouldn't kill Hobarth Abelson in childhood due to knowing what he becomes, if that's what you're all saying.
No, nobody is. Wait, are you saying that you have already gone back in time and pretended to be Mick Foley?
Shut up, Devin.
Okay, all right. No, I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Terminated him?
Oh man.
This discussion is over.
Part of why I'm feeling jaunty today is I made a big mistake earlier, and I was making pancakes for breakfast, and we had these blueberries that we'd been preserving, these like that we rehydrated, and I was
in
like,
urine.
In pee-pee, yes.
Yes, Ben.
Pee-pee berries, they call them.
Very funny. No, but it was, however, in bourbon. And I did think, and I had this moment of like, oh, berries, oh, it'll be nice, and the bourbon will be like a nice like pop. And it didn't occur to me that they would not be cooking long enough for the booze to cook out of it. So I was eating pancakes at like 10 a.m. and then I had a feeling of like, oh no, I'm kind of drunk.
I mean, in the Midwest, we just call that breakfast.
Yeah, that's he's not lying. Devin's not lying.
An early episode of that Epic Mealtime had the great line where what's his name, the main dude looks at the camera and just says, "We're gonna get drunk off pancakes," and makes hundreds of pancakes with Jack Daniels. I know they're still going on YouTube. I haven't watched them in years, but I love the first year of that stuff.
Yeah,
it's the same bit over and over again, and eventually it's but it was worthy,
Yeah.
We should say something about Rey Mysterio here. Devin, were you watching in '96? When did you start watching wrestling? Actually?
Wrestling, I have no idea when I started watching.
Oh, that's right. You
do not remember life
without
this
is a story I tell. So you're going to hear this story first, and then you're going to hear it again when the episode that I told it originally on airs.
Yeah.
My earliest wrestling memory is flipping through the channels and seeing a Razor Ramon promo and going, "Oh, Razor Ramon." Meaning, like, before I can remember, I knew who Razor Ramon was.
Right.
So I've been watching wrestling for longer than I can remember. But WCW, I didn't care about until I looked at it every once in a while, but before Razor Ramon and Diesel went over there. Before the Outsiders, I didn't really care.
So, Ray showed up in like the middle of '96.
Yeah,
so you would have probably seen the beginning of Ray.
Yeah, and the cruiserweights were always my favorite thing. And actually, it was really the luchadors were my favorite thing because I loved Laparca. And I mistakenly thought he was a cruiserweight. And to me, when I was a kid, cruiserweight just was masked wrestler.
Oh.
So, to me, the Patriot was a cruiserweight.
They didn't do a very good job of explaining what they meant by cruiserweight on Nitro. Usually the cruiserweights would be in the ring and Tony Schiavone would be like, "Can you believe that, Hulk Hogan?" And it's like, damn it, Tony, these guys are incredible and they're right in front of you.
Yeah, so
talk about them.
Yeah, I loved Rey Mysterio as a kid.
I guess there was an assumption that children would be familiar with all this boxing terminology.
Mm. Yeah. So I bring it up because there really was a large contingent of fans in '96, mostly PWI readers who thought that Rey Mysterio was the best wrestler in the world that year. And there's an argument to be made for it. Now having a little more sophisticated understanding of wrestling, it's he did the coolest moves. He could work a match at the time, but a lot of the stuff, the match with him teaming with Juventud against Laparca and Psychosis that we watched, was just a total spot fest with no selling whatsoever.
Yeah,
so it's just interesting to me to think about the difference in perspective of a fan at different points in your fandom, where I totally would have been down for Rey Mysterio being the best wrestler in the world in '96, and now I'm I could see why he kind of wasn't.
Yeah, no, see, me in 1996, I was 8 years old, so
Same.
I would have said, no, it's Diesel. What the hell are you talking about?
I mean, it was obviously Brett. It was obviously Brett being the best there is, was, and ever will be.
Actually, that's not true. I would have said
I
Owen.
would have also said Owen had I been watching at the time.
Because even though I loved Diesel and he was the champ, Owen was always, I always loved Owen. I couldn't understand it, but I'm just I like him. He's good.
Also,
at
actually,
he
7
was
and 8
good.
years old.
Diesel lost the title at the end of '95. So were you still were you wearing the black glove when he went tweener?
I wasn't allowed to wear the black glove. I wasn't. My parents had this policy of you can watch wrestling, we just don't pay for it. So I didn't get any I was allowed to have action figures, like wrestling action figures, because they were toys and I could do whatever I wanted with them. But I wasn't allowed to buy merch or pay for pay-per-views or pay for tickets.
Man.
So I went to a lot of wrestling as a kid because my dad was in radio and would just get whatever local house show stuff.
Oh, so you still got to go to shows. They just didn't pay for it.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of shows.
I love going to house shows.
Yeah, I didn't pay for them. But I wasn't allowed to buy any merch. Any merch that I had was free stuff that they gave out as promo stuff to the radio station. So I had this one just white T-shirt that had the WWF logo in pink on it that I wore for 20 years.
That you wore yesterday.
No, I just within the last 5 or 6 years got rid of it.
It was over.
Yeah, it was rotting off of my body.
Yeah, I know.
I've had it so long.
I have a shirt that's got to be 20 years old at this point. That is a giant shirt that was just a picture of a cup of coffee, like the kind that you'd get at a deli, that's blue with the sort of faux Greek writing on it that says "Have a nice day" or some shit like that. And I when I was 17, I remember people being like, "It's a nice shirt," and I still have it because I can't get rid of it because I'm like, no, people like this shirt. It's got holes. It's not. I can't wear it outside. It lives in the shirts I can't wear in front of other people.
I have that drawer.
Yeah, I have a lot of. I call those JV shirts because they're not good enough to be on varsity.
I like.
Do you remember anything about your the first house show you went to, Devin?
Yes, I do. I was a very small child. It was, I want to say 92 or 93. Maybe by telling the matches we can pin it in. Hacksaw Jim Duggan wrestled Kamala, and Kamala scared the shit out of me. But The Undertaker had a match at some point, and The Undertaker didn't scare the shit out of me. But I remember specifically the main event was Shawn Michaels versus Bam Bam Bigelow. So I think I was on one of the B shows. Because at that period of time, they had the A show, B show. And
so my first house show was Bret Hart and Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event.
So
oh, nice.
It
might have been around the same time. Or I guess Shawn and Bam Bam sounds like later, or...
I don't...
Was it when Shawn was Intercontinental Champion?
It might have been towards that period of time, but it was still the narcissistic Shawn Michaels, because he kept stopping the match to fix his hair. And of course, as a child, that was the immediate heat
Boo,
getter.
your hair!
I was
boo.
just wrestle! What are you doing? So it was
awesome.
That right, transition period when he was moving up the card.
That sounds like...
If you know roughly where it is, you could type the card into Google, and there are websites that have documented every house show if you really want to pinpoint it.
It was in Davenport, Iowa. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
There might even be fan cam footage or something. Shawn Michaels versus Bam Bam Bigelow sounds like it could be a hell of a match, and I've never seen it.
I don't think that it was. I think it was just a throwaway house show pay-per-view or main event.
Was there a point when you were super young watching wrestling where you believed it was 100% real, like you were the ideal, what to me would be the ideal, or to Vince maybe the ideal wrestling fan, where they believe that it's happening?
I was a super mark, as they would say.
There's got to be kind of a magic, a special magic to that, a special magic that colors your relationship with wrestling. You know, even if by the time you're 7 you were oh, wait a minute, there's no way that can be real, you know.
There were, I was half in and half out through, I'm going to say, my pre-teen years, where I was, not, super deep, but, when I was, 9, 10, 11, I was this shit's fake, but this shit's real. Some of it's fake, some of it's real. It was very much that kind
Those title matches are on the up and up. That's the more traditional version of that. The NWA World Title, that's legit. Maybe the undercard matches are a show, but Luthez is a real wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird. Being a wrestling fan as a kid. But no, there was a point in time where I thought everything was 100% real. I thought Papa Shango could do black magic. And I thought he was killing the Ultimate Warrior when he made him leak.
Looking back on it, that's so ridiculous. But, as a little kid, you see that. I mean, why not?
And I love
it's
the
just
Warrior.
like what happens in the cartoons.
Well,
yeah.
no, and that's something that I think, like, I feel like I missed out on not being into wrestling as a child in a lot of ways.
I
because
do
I feel
too,
like
sometimes.
being able to watch it with without any part of why I am interested in it as an adult now, after being force-fed hundreds of hours of it over the course of this podcast, is, it's got this really interesting blend of reality and fantasy, and it's this weird sort of meta art form that is fascinating for a variety of reasons. But, like, man, to be able to watch it, like, with a childlike wonder and accept all of these things to be true, like, I bet it would have been a really unique experience as a kid, given
and even if you don't
the other
literally believe it.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, a lot of the issue that I have with mainstream pro wrestling now is the suspension of disbelief that I used to have as I learned that it was all fake. It's like, it doesn't have to be real, but I gotta at least buy it a little bit. And a lot of stuff that happens now is just like, I don't buy it.
They don't try anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
Like, for, like, the redemption gimmick on Raw and SmackDown, this, like, say what you will about perhaps the political connotations of it or whatever.
No,
but just the fact,
Retribution,
right.
Yeah.
They just come out and, like, they're part of the show. Like,
And they have rubber chainsaws.
Yeah.
But, like, how did they get in? And,
Right.
why are the announcers talking about them? Like, they're
Like,
a
none
thing.
of it matters.
They even knew their name. But, they've never called themselves Retribution.
Yeah.
That's what the
And
announcers
outfits
call
look like
them.
shit.
Exactly. Like, similar, I mean, different but similar is like the NWO. It was believable because it was, when they gradually revealed stuff, you're like, oh, that's how they did it. It's like, oh, it's Hall and Nash coming here, and they come in through the crowd, and they beat people up when they get in the ring. And the announcers are just like, what the hell is going on? What the fuck? And then later you learn it's like, oh, they shoot their own stuff. Where's this money coming from? Oh, it's coming from Ted DiBiase, the richest guy in wrestling. And it's like, oh, okay, so they can buy time on the show that the network can't cut off. And it's like, you just got
it's like
simple things
advertising.
like that. Exactly.
The following announcement was paid for by the New World Order.
Exactly.
It's a little touch, but it made all the difference.
Exactly. Whereas like this Retribution crap is just like people in hoodies and ski masks show up and
like, aren't they on a closed set with security?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, did they get their temperatures checked
yeah, exactly.
before they came
Yeah,
in?
Yeah. It's like, this is really dumb, and I don't buy it. And
It
the
just doesn't
extra
thread
best
with the world.
part about it is, it's like, oh, I know who that is. I know who that is. Like, what are you doing? I watched your other shows. I know who these people are.
Yeah, if I know who they are, how come you don't know who
Yeah,
they are?
exactly. So do you not watch your own TV shows? What are you doing?
One of Batista's best lines, like, ever is like when he was about to, fall out with Triple H in Evolution. And, like, he's just like, I see Raw. And it's like, oh, man, that makes you the most intelligent babyface in the history of Raw. You actually watch the show.
Yeah.
And you can see what's going on because they're still doing all the shady stuff on camera, just not in the same room as you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Batista, and they ruined Batista for a while. But whatever, I like Batista. Batista's cool in my book.
Yep. I hated him for a while, but that's just because I thought he was bad at
me
wrestling.
too.
And then I realized, no, Devin, you're just being a smarky jerk.
Right.
I started liking Batista when he was on the way out and he turned heel for a little while and he was just whiny and
Yeah.
insufferable. It was great.
One of the
And
great
then he,
Batista quotes is, duct tape, are you serious?
Duct tape. Are you serious?
Yeah.
When Cena was taping him to the ring or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he really kind of put over Daniel Bryan. Like, he didn't lose to him, but he let Bryan put him in the label lock and all that. And
yeah.
it was
Wait, didn't
he knew the
Batista
deal.
tap at WrestleMania 30? Wasn't it Batista that lost that match?
Oh, eventually at WrestleMania 30,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about
Oh, at
earlier.
the time. Got it.
Like before Daniel Bryan was anything.
Gotcha. When he
Really,
was just that weird vegan who watches Battlestar Galactica. And it's like, and I'm supposed to hate him for that?
I remember this was a great sign of like the disconnect that the WWE had. So they put Michael Cole in charge of insulting Daniel Bryan constantly every week on commentary. And one week he was doing commentary with Jerry Lawler. And like the thing about Jerry Lawler, one of the many things about Jerry Lawler is Jerry Lawler doesn't watch the product. He doesn't really care. He's there because they're going to pay him to be there. It's his job, you know. So he sit there next to Michael Cole, and Michael Cole's like, this Daniel Bryan, and Lawler's like, what? Daniel Bryan's like, he's a vegan. He doesn't eat any meat. And Jerry Lawler didn't get the memo that you were supposed to ridicule Daniel Bryan for that. And Jerry Lawler just said, like, natural as can be, a lot of people just don't eat meat.
Right, just matter of fact's like, good for him.
Yeah.
Well, I also love
Jimmy Hart, who only eats beans.
Yeah. I also love that Daniel
course,
Bryan is still doing a vegan gimmick, even though he's not a vegan in real life anymore.
Right. He had to start incorporating fish oils, and he was getting
he had to stop.
He's allergic to soy.
Yeah.
But also
so hard to do it. Yeah.
Remember, Daniel Bryan was the babyface through this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like you were supposed to hate Michael Cole.
And I did.
I hated Michael Cole for other reasons.
I already hated Michael Cole, so it wasn't hard.
Yeah, I never liked Michael Cole. I thought he took JR's job, and he's been fighting back for that for 22 years now. He's been
Evan, eventually we'll do our 6-part Daniel Bryan Danielson extravaganza.
I'm looking forward to those.
You'll see some of this stuff.
Plus 6 premium episodes.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's not as relevant now as it was a few minutes ago, but I was familiar with Batista mostly because I'm part of a workout group on Facebook where we just work out our traps.
At least you're working out.
That's good.
It's like
a lot of shrugs.
It's like traps day, legs day, traps day. Push
At
day,
least you're
traps
doing
day, pull
something.
Day, traps day, leg day. Yeah, and so because you really want. He's got like a shelf. Like if Batista needed to like go somewhere and have an accessible pantry, he could just keep them on his trap, like flour, jars of flour on his traps.
The trapezius hold was a dreaded submission hold for years and years in pro wrestling. And, wrestlers had to learn to effectively combat it.
So you get really enormous traps.
There you go.
I don't know. That always kind of made the trapezius hold look like it hurt more to me.
Because there's something to grab onto.
Yeah,
I guess so.
It's a real handle.
You can get in there.
But that's the thing, is that Batista does seem like a guy that you could ride into battle.
Yeah, Batista seems like a guy I could ride. You could say that. Okay, it's time to end this episode.
Into a battle of genitals. This has been Contesting Wrestling. Thank you to all the listeners we just lost because I didn't cut that joke.
Oh, no, Evan. You should also know one more thing about Batista. It's a long-standing punchline in wrestling media, starting with the kayfabe commentary series, to ask and then have ignored the question, how big is Batista's dick?
Oh, this sounds familiar.
It's a complete meme in wrestling fandom.
In any Q&A situation, you could be talking to someone who's never met Batista. If it's a professional wrestling Q&A, you ask how big Batista's dick is.
And then the person who's being asked rolls their eyes and they're like, come on, because that's, the appropriate response, I think. Mm-hmm. But no, we're not losing any listeners. If anything, it's fair game.
This has been Contesting Wrestling. Follow us on Twitter at ContestingW. Let us know about things. I hope you enjoyed our guest today because you're going to hear him a whole bunch next week. When we delve into the career of historic figure and great classic big guy wrestler Ron Simmons, who is not related to Devin,
right?
But that's it. That's all the information.
Tune in next time.
Relevant.
There's a better payoff to some of these jokes later.
Yeah, I said that sentence like with a cadence that was not appropriate for where the sentence was ending. This has been Contesting Wrestling. We love you.
Goodbye.
Jeez.